is no longer determined solely by national policies or domestic markets.
regulation, but it was rejected. A committee like this was created by Mario Draghi in 1997 and 1998 as the director of the Treasury, and led to the drafting of the laws we had had for the past 25 years. Thanks to those laws, Italy in the past decades has enhanced its role in international finance, particularly within the European Union. We have had a key role in shaping the Next Generation EU initiative and unprecedented recovery plan designed to revitalize European economies and funded by common instruments. These initiatives have allowed Italy to secure critical funding for investments in green energy, digitalization, infrastructure, which will propel our country towards the coming decade. Furthermore, Italy has taken an active part in shaping the Capital Markets Union, aimed at deepening financial integration across the EU. By removing barriers to cross-border investment and fostering a more resilient financial system, the EMU would enhance our ability to access diverse sources of capital, supporting both our public and private sectors in growth and innovation. Much remains to be done. We must continue to build on our leadership within the EU to enhance financial resilience across Europe, particularly in the areas such as tax cooperation and combating financial crime. We must integrate more capital markets and banking systems. This should not only fortify the US financial system, but also increase confidence among investors and citizens. Moreover, the global arena, we must continue to push for reforms to modernize trade rules and ensure that international finance aligns with the digital age. Emerging technologies demand that we work with global partners to create a regulatory framework that protects consumers and investors while fostering innovation. The road ahead requires sustained efforts to deepen our financial cooperation within the EU and the broader international community. And we need a much more serious government capable of understanding the magnitude of these responsibilities and the ability to act sustainably. We must remain proactive in shaping policies that secure Italy's place as a key player on international finance. Policies that not only bolster our economy, but also contribute to a more inclusive and sustainable world financial system. I am sure that events like this, and I'd like to warmly thank Paolo for inviting me to contribute to our process and our activities in the Italian Parliament. So I'm very pleased to be here, and thank all of you to discuss with us of this important theme. Thank you, Paolo, and thank you.
Mi sentite? Sì. Grazie Cristina perché il tuo intervento è ottimo. Thank you to Cristina because the speech was exactly what we need. Now I ask my friend Antonella Massari if she's ready, if he's ready to come to the stage and to speak about what the association, the Private Bank Association, is doing for Italian private investors. Please. I need some chart. Now I check the technical difficulties we have, but I don't remember. This is a beautiful auditorium, but I'm not a technician. So.
To be effective, I need to show some slide, if possible. Many thanks. I'm glad to be invited in this distinguished audience to talk about our AI private banking, private banking Italian Association. Le ho viste prima le slide?
Sì, no, ci sono qua, però non so come si fa a mandare avanti.
Maybe I try.
Okay, you can speak by here if you want.
Yes, but I don't see where they are.
Ok. No, ok.
This one.
This one? Ok.
Ma è acceso, non lo so, forse è meglio da
Ok.
qui.
È uguale.
Okay. May I? Okay. So many thanks. So what I want to talk about today, thank you, Paolo. This disappeared, but is here, is the role that we think we can play as an association to have the engagement of individual investor to capital market and financial market, and also to improve financial education, which is a key problem also in Italy, not only in Italy, I think, but mainly in Italy. To start, no, Paolo. Okay. First of all, to start, who is IPB, Private Banking Italia Association? We are a young association. We were born in 2004 when private banking was at the beginning in Italy. Of course, there was a big business of foreign banks, but starting from this period, also the Italian banks started to offer such kind of business model. Our association has the task to improve and promote private banking among the financial market and the general public. Our major associates are 39 banks that are the majority of banks that in Italy offer the private banking business. Then they also saw productors. The banks are distributors, so people who is in contact with the customer. And we have 48 productors that are asset management, insurance, brokers. So we have all the channel, the value channel of private banking, and also law firms that help bankers when there is discontinuity in something that deal with the customer. But to talk about investment of individual, we have to start, I think, to the raw material, which is the wealth. So the wealth in Italy, it was always the pillar of the Italian economy because Italians were big savers. Starting from the Second World War, we have an accumulation of saving, and we were very successful in building this 11,000 billion of wealth. You can see from the picture that is not well distributed. In Italy, still we have a big weight of real estate. But in any case, that maybe is too much for all the wealth we have. But in any case, 30% of the wealth are financial assets. That is the topic we are talking about, how these assets could be invested. And the financial assets that are interested, that the key for private banking is a portion of this financial asset, that is these 103,000 billion, that are assets in the hand of individual and households with more than 500,000 financial assets. Why? Because to access to the private banking business, of course, you need to have money to diversify. You have to have money also to pay for this business. So these are the topics. And these are really important for the country because these are the assets that can be invested in real economy, can be invested in something that helps the economy. This was a good thing. The less positive one is that the savings rate also in Italy is going down. So we started with more than 20%. We were compared to Japan, for example, not as the most good in saving. Now is around 8%. So it's much more important to preserve the wealth we have accumulated and to increase in investing in the better way. In fact, we were very proud to be number one among the big European countries for wealth per adult, as it was in 2020, I think. Now, unfortunately, we are not the first one, but the first one. So this is to introduce the reason why a professional management of wealth could be important. Second reason is the scenario. Of course, today, in the last year, we have a disruptive scenario, the pandemic, the wars we were not used to, but not only. Now, to predict is very unpredictable. The financial markets are difficult to predict, is very volatile. And I've put here, we ask to our associate twice a year what are the risks they see in something that can happen in the scenario that would impact in an unexpected way investment. And as you can see, still it's very important recession, the possibility to have inflation, so a tough monetary policy, and the problem of public debt. War seems not to be a great concern. In fact, apart from the impact that war can have on inflation rate, at the end, war has not had a very big impact on the financial market. This surprised us. Maybe the recent event could be a bit more. This kind of event has an impact on the emotional attitude of investor, but not really on professional one. So, having said, I hope in a very few words to say how important is professional advisory. And the professional advisory is what private banking do. And at the center of the business model, private banking business model, is the relations between client and private banker. This relation is very strong in Italy. And why I'm talking about this? Because through this relation, we can really increase the engagement of investors and increase education. And so strong the relations that on average, this is 15 years old on average in Italy. And around this relation, what we found personalization, that is very, very important. We found wide range of product. We found skilled people. So banker has to be very well skilled, even more now. The scenario is complicated, as you have seen. And also you have to train and to be updated every time. Also the law asks for this. Then we have a frequency of meeting, and now with a multi-channel approach is possible to have very, very frequent meeting, and the average is in Italy 14 times per year. So this business model had big, you have to, another one, was a big success, because the market share of this channel grow over time. Now we have 102,000 billion euro of asset. Some year were problematic. For example, 2022. You know that in this year, all the market went in the same way, so down, both bond and equity. So of course, as our customers are invested, they were hit, but the recovery was immediate. And another point is important to understand why private banking can really be useful is that the asset manager are 30% of the total financial asset, but 50% of the invested asset. So if you want to look to investment, private banking is a key player to help for improvement. And what kind of customer we have? First of all, they are not young. Unfortunately, in Italy, to have a wealth, no, I don't think not only in Italy. If you, for example, you compare Europe and Asia, in Asia the picture is totally different. In Italy, the private banking customer is senior, is 58-year average, so quite senior. Not so senior because now we live a lot, but in the middle of his life. Of course, have higher saving capacity because he's wealthy. better level of education, more interested in financial informations, and this also it's important, and more risk taker, so he can invest in much different kind of instrument, and with a longer term horizon. Again, this is a precondition to have a much more developed financial market and in individual investing in this. And what kind of profession? Also, this is important because I'll let you know better later. We have 23% entrepreneurs and 18 professionals, 17 self-employed workers. For this, what we can do is manage complexity because they have both professional and private wealth. Then we have retired people, 25%, and for them the importance is protection of the wealth they have accumulated in the time. And smaller part, 10% employee, 7% manager, where we have to optimize their flow because now a job is not forever, so they can have some stop in their job. For example, if we look at the composition in UK of this customer base, managers are much more. So if this is the customer base of our sector, we can play a dual role, and this again is important for the topic we are talking today. From one side, we can guide the investor toward information investment choice, bring rationality. When I talked about the scenario, the point of the scenario was the increase the fear, the emotion, so you can try to change your view, not in a rational way, and the banker can help in say, wait a bit, no, let's see, thinking to, for example, the year of the pandemic. People were tried to sell their asset, and in fact, in few weeks, in few months, they went up again. Optimize financial planning and increase financial literature. But at the same time, you remember we have 23% entrepreneurs among our customers. When the bankers meet the entrepreneurs, they, of course, talk about the private wealth, but they want to talk about their enterprise because they're like a child, no? Even more of the enterprise, of the business than of the personal wealth. And in that case, we can start to talk about things that are important for them. For example, diversification of source of finance. In Italy and in Europe in general, I think we are we are too much exposed to banking credit. We can talk about the new things about sustainability, why not? Business continuity. In Italy, we have, I will talk later, SMEs that are family business. And the point is when the founder is growing older, he has difficulty to find someone to replace him. This is a key problem in Italy. And what they are looking, this customer, from advisory. And we make every year an interview to 700 private banking customers, and they are looking to receive professional support, 53%, which is rational. So they understand that a loan is difficult to work. To also to have 22% peace of mind. This is my case, peace of mind. So you delegate, no, and you stay calm, and then because they understand that this is a complex issue to do things alone. On the other side, what was quite surprising to us, that it was not returned the first thing they are looking for. We said security, I think it's safety. I don't know if security is the right name. So they want to be safe, so to keep their wealth, not to lose wealth, even more than that increase the wealth. Were we successful in doing this? I think yes. So this is a reason why we promote ourselves, have to do even more for the market. First of all, if you see, this is the customer satisfaction that we measure every year. The comparison with it has grown every year. Now we have reached really 89. Is very, very high, and is higher for us than for the customer that are not served by private banking. But as people say, but customer satisfaction is not enough tough as an indicators. So we measured also the Net Promoter Score. Net Promoter Score is a tougher way to measure trust. No? If you recommend something to another person, if it's friend, you can also risk to lose your friend. So in this case, we have the difference between promoter and detractors 38, which is a very, very good score. Of course, Apple is 61, but we have to work. Maybe we will be able to reach. Summarize, what was the result? Result was that the customer of private banking have a very diversified portfolio. So they participate very much to the capital market, financial market with different instruments. In fact, if you compare the distribution of investment of private banking customer and retail customer, not private, you see the big difference. Retail customer has 50% in deposits. That means they don't trust the financial market. They not invest. They don't push. They don't help the growth of the country. Not only our country, because investment is diversified in any country, not only in Italy. So this was a result, we think, that demonstrated the role that can be the professional advisory may have in the financial market, but we have to fill some gap. And this is, well, we have done well, mainly on the bond side, but if we see the equity investment, we still have a big gap comparing to other countries. So the Italian customer, not private banking customer, are 12.5% in equity. Private banking customer a bit better, 26, but if we see USA is 42.5. And in fact, the wealth in US has grown very much more than in Europe because of the performance they had. Why? Reasons why this happened. First of all, low financial literacy. Of course, bonds are easiest to understand. There is a big trust on government bond, especially in Italy. So it's a very question mark how it will happen. But there is a reason, because fiscally they are better position. Low penetration on the insurance solution. I will talk about this again. Low capital market culture. We have a very small stock exchange. So we are not used to invest in stock. Limited SMEs. So also if we want to invest, there is a limited offer, no, from the offer side, and preference on bond because we have a big debt. No, Italian debt is very, but not only in Italy, everywhere in Europe. Now we see that also France, Germany, and investment in government bond is considered less risky. This is a stupid thing because we have inflation. But when the inflation was zero, but also the interest rate were zero. So, and this is literacy. In fact, if we look the ranking of financial literacy in Italy, of course, this brings a preference for liquidity because they don't understand we are at the bottom. And we still are there. Now we have introduced the economy in the secondary school, obligatory, and we hope that things will change. But for example, for senior people who have a consultant, a banker, any meeting is a way to improve their knowledge of financial instruments. Then another reason, low penetration of insurance solution. Italy is again below all the countries. And what does it mean this? That also who have a big wealth thinks that is enough to self-protection. But to have this as self-protection means to keep it liquid. So it's a way not to invest in the market, in the financial market. In countries where the penetration of protection instrument is higher, there is they free asset to be invested in something different than liquidity. And liquidity is not always the best way to keep the asset. Third, lack of local market culture, equity market culture. Our equity market is very small, so we are not used to see company listed. We are not used to invest. And I think the first thing to be confident on equity market is to start from local market, because you understand the business, maybe you know also the company, and then go to the other market. And so this also, it's a reason why we think, and we need to increase this market. We think equity are very low in portfolio of Italian investor. But we have still a great opportunity coming from non-listed companies, so small SMEs. SMEs can be an investment opportunity because, first of all, it's the backbone of Italian economy. You see, 99% of Italian economy are SMEs. SMEs means really small. 85 are family business, as we said, the problem of to keep the company going and not to sell. Look, for example, to fashion company in Italy. Now, 90% of the fashion is in the end of France, because they're big company. The big Italian brand are no longer Italian. SMEs generate 79% of jobs. So you can understand that it is impossible to grow for these companies, for the economy, for the Italian economy. So, and then they have a lot of strength, because Made in Italy is a brand that has a big value, high specialization, quality obsession, because in fact they are in their niche. Generally, they are really always on the top. Unfortunately, they are small, because they have short-term strategies, low propensity to increase size, low propensity to open to capital. Because on one side, the investor don't want to invest in equity, and the other side, there is no equity offered, and lack of governance. And then is something that I think you are talking about. Last, so increased weight of private market. The private market in Italy, these are alternative investment, not only private market, is 0.8%. US is 21%, in the end of individual investor, of course. So why it's important to have private market in the portfolio? First of all, because there are opportunities you cannot find in the listed market, in listed company. As I said, there are, for example, SMEs working in niche, in something, in venture, in new business. So it's very good for diversification. The correlation we have seen, for example, in 22, when all the market went the same way down. The presence of a portion of private market could be a way to stabilize the performance. Okay, but there are also cons, because capital lock-in for a long term is not, because of course in investment in private market means 5-7 years at the minimum. Difficulties to monitoring the performance, because they are not listed. So this is important, the relation between banker and customer, because as the customer trusts the banker, so if he has to explain in an easy way what is happening, it could be an help, and preference for other classes. And now the scenario, of course, of higher interest rate, of course, is not the best scenario to invest in private market. This is a pity. In conclusion, what will be the role of financial advisor service and private banking mainly? To increase duration of the financial portfolio through goal-based investing approach is an approach where you split the wealth and the financial asset and tied the portion to goals. And if goals are long-term one, now you can invest in long-term instrument. And the equity, for example, is one, private market is another example. Increase adoption of protection instrument. This is another thing they are pushing a lot, because if you protect yourself, and will be more and more needed for the problem of longevity, for the problem of the lack of source from the government, and you can free asset for different investment. Leverage on technology. Technology could help us to be more efficient and to be more transparent. And this is something that we are working on. Develop private banker hard and soft skill. Why soft skill? Because investors are really need to have someone that give rationality. When you talk about your money, you are not rational. And when you see a scenario that is troubling you, to have someone like a doctor, no? Like when you are healed. Develop private banking, so soft skill is one of our tasks as an industry. Increase the retail investor financial literacy, you have said, and each meeting with the consultant is a way to put a bit of more insight. Improve SME corporate governance, because when you talk with entrepreneurs, the key issue is corporate governance. You have big enterprises with no board of directors, any independent directors. So this is something that we have to, in the meeting, to start to talk about this and promote new private market product. For example, ELTF 2.0 that are specifically for the retail investors. Many thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
I summarize a bit of.
She's the best relator we can have. But no, any question on this item, on this point? Okay, now we have a round table and we can go deeper in this point. So I ask people to come to here. And we have the round table about investor access to share, and Alessia Potecchi, Department of Economy and Finance of the Democratic Party. Paolo Mazzanti, he is responsible for Asca News, one of the oldest journalists in the sector. I mean, too old because the friend of mine still 50 years ago, I don't know, 60 years ago, I don't want to say exactly. Marco Bacini, professor at Lium University. I'm sorry, Riccardo Sorrentino, president of the Journalists Association, is not able to come today, but he sent us a message of welcome. Gianpaolo Berni Ferretti, I don't know if he will arrive probably during the coffee break, because he likes coffee and breaks. And Benedetta Cosmi, journalist, she writes on the Corriere della Sera, which is the most important newspaper we have in Milan. So the first speech belongs to Alessia. She will speak from here, I think.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me here today. I am delighted to be part of this event, and would like to extend my thanks and congratulations to Paolo Brambilla for organizing these 2 days of important discussions. Today, we must confront the pressing challenges in the economic and financial sector, with Europe as our key reference point. Banks, of course, play a critical role in this. The significant economic crisis of recent years has ended, and now Europe and Italy must choose the path of development with conviction. We must rise to meet new challenges, seize opportunities, and play a leading role in shaping the change ahead, which can no longer be delayed. The future we face requires us to focus on people, placing the individual at the center of the economy and financial systems. As we consider saving, taxation, social security, and ecological and digital transitions. We must be realistic about their impact on society. This change carries significant social value that we cannot ignore. A profound shift is needed to make Europe more cohesive, enabling a recovery that is sustainable, not only for the environment, but also in terms of employment, rights, and meeting the needs of people. Digitalization and technological innovation, including artificial intelligence, must be guided to reduce inequality, promote solidarity, and ensure sustainability in economy and social development. Europe has drifted from social foundation in recent decades, and now we must decide what kind of Europe we want. The primary issues will be economic, taxation, financial programs, and ensuring peace. We must ask ourselves whatever we want to build a Europe of social and economic solidarity. It's time to revitalize the European social model, moving beyond austerity and national self-interest, and embracing a social pillar for the Union that places people and work at its core. We must seize the best opportunities of the green and digital transition while ensuring inclusivity, especially by enhancing social dialogue and collective bargaining. Women, too, must benefit from this progress. Europe must also act with more unity and decisiveness on the many unsolved issues it faces today, including peace process, where the need to move forward with greater determination. We need now the same courage that led to the creation of the Next Generation EU initiative. Economic governance must play a key role in building a social democrat and sustainable Europe, supporting those affected by the ecological and digital transitions. Establishing a unified tax system is essential to create a strong social foundation for the Union, even though harmonizing 27 tax systems is no small task. It requires competence, seriousness, and foresight, but it's necessary if we are to meet the challenges ahead. While strengthening finance stability across Europe, we also need initiatives that move faster, setting clear priorities like governance, solidarity, and cohesion. Weakening welfare system would create vulnerabilities that we cannot afford. Europe has provided positive answers on various issues in recent years, but now is the time to take further steps to enable the Union to act more decisively. We must ensure that future decisions are hindered by endless negotiation or vetoes, which only delay progress and weaken unity. The ecological transition is not unavoidable, but also a key opportunity for shared job creations and economy development. However, we must address the risk that accompany it, ensuring that policies support both worker and business. Investment in sectors like renewable energy, green technology, and research must be prioritized, while social safety needs and training programs are strengthening to manage the transition effectively. To conclude, Europe cannot afford to move backwards. We must take bold steps to ensure that our economy, our environment, our people thrive in the years to come. A more cohesive, resilient, and forward-looking Europe is within reach if we act decisively together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I can ask Paolo Mazzanti to speak about the same or different goal. It depends on you.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you, Paolo. As Maria Antonietta Massari has already said, according to the Bank of Italy, our national central bank, the financial wealth of Italians amount to approximately 5,000 billion euros, while European savings are estimated at 33,000 billion. In general, the most popular financial instrument of saving families are certificates of deposit and postal savings bonds held by 50% of investors, followed by mutual fund, 29%, and Italian government bonds, 18%. But many Italians, as Maria Antonella Massari said, do not invest their savings, which remain in current accounts. It is estimated that there are over 1,260 billion in current accounts, an increase compared to recent years. With respect to these figures, I would like to make two assessments for which both the role of banks and financial literacy are involved. Italy and Europe are paying for the absence of a savings management industry with large operators. In the recent report on the European single market, the former Italian Prime Minister Enrico Letta has stated that every year 300 to 400 billion euros, 300 to 400 billion euros of European savings leave Europe to be invested by large American asset management companies. Even with these resources, American companies come to Europe to shop for European companies. Hence, the urgency of unifying the European financial market and creating large European financial companies, as our bank UniCredit is doing with the German Commerzbank. This is one of the priorities indicated by the recent Mario Draghi report to relaunch Europe's competitiveness. Italy then has the problem of financing the many small unlisted companies, and therefore of putting family savings in contact with these companies. The individual saving plans for private individual and pension funds created in 2017 for this purpose with tax incentives have so far collected 15 billion euros, but it's too little. More needs to be done. Second point, the 5,000 billion of financial wealth of Italian families, to which are added another 5,000 billion of real estate wealth, are almost 2 times the national public debt, which is around 2,800 billion. And in fact, many of our politicians argue that public debt is not a problem because there is a great deal of private wealth. This is both true and false. It is true because Italian families are financially solid and could resist an eventual default of the state better than in other countries. But it is also false because our high public debt, today equal to 135% of the GDP, but which will rise to 137 in 2026, costs us a lot in terms of passive interests, resources taken away from the economic development and the country welfare. In fact, we pay 85 billion euros in interest every year, and our rates are higher than the average European rates precisely because of the size of the debt and its perceived riskiness by investors. It has been calculated that if we paid the average European interest rates on our debt, the state would save from 35 to 40 billion a year, and a lower perceived riskiness of the country would have a positive effect on the entire economy. Interest rates would also fall for businesses and families. Real assets such as real estate and shares, would appreciate in value. For this reason, I think that the reduction of public debt, requested, by the way, by the European Union with the new Stability Pact, and that the Meloni government has committed to starting from 2027 with its mandate will end. In the structural budget plan is a primary interest of all citizens, and especially of the richest, who hold the real estates, the real assets that would be appreciated. It would be enough for a small share of the financial wealth of families to be transferred to debt reduction to achieve this goal. I'm not necessarily calling for an extraordinary wealth tax to reduce the debt. Other methods can be studied. For example, the issuance of government bonds at lower rates than the current one, with a premium to be paid to subscribers when the debt dynamics have reduced. In conclusion, I think that today, one of the best investments for Italian is to bet on debt reduction. Thank you very much.
Grazie Paolo for your speech. Now we ask Marco Baccini to speak to us. I don't know if he has the same point of view, but it depends on your goals. Please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Marco Baccini, and I'm a professor at the Department of Management, Finance, and Technology at the LUM University of Bari. And I'm the director of the master's program in intelligence for national and international security. Plus, I'm also the coordinator of the Scientific and Technical Committee for Digital Transformation of Regione Lombardia. So I did this introduction just because I would like to focus my speech on these kind of topics. It is a privilege to be here today, and I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to Paolo Brambilla, friend and great coordinator of this important event. So, as we look ahead to the future of private investments and the role of bank, it is impossible to ignore the profound changes occurring in the world around us. Geopolitical tension, global crisis, and wars are reshaping the economic landscape. From the war in Ukraine to shifts in the power dynamics across the globe, these events have created significant volatility and uncertainty in financial markets. Banks and financial institutions are facing unprecedented challenges in this environment. I think that with challenges always comes opportunities. To navigate this new era, banks must not only act as financial intermediaries, but also as strategic enablers of stability, growth, and innovation. One of the most pressing needs is for banks to help mitigate the risk associated with geopolitical uncertainty. This involves not only managing traditional financial risk, but also incorporating geopolitical risk assessments into their decision-making processes. So, by leveraging intelligence, data analytics, and foresight, banks can anticipate potential disruption and position themselves to better support their clients and investors. Another area of focus is the role that banks play in driving sustainable investments. The ESG agenda is no longer a peripheral concern. It has become central to how investors make decisions. Banks must not only offer products that align with ESG criteria, but also actively guide clients in making responsible investment choices that consider the long-term impact on the planet and society. Digital transformation is another critical dimension shaping the future of banking. New technologies such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, and big data analytics are transforming how financial institutions operate. To remain competitive, banks must embrace this innovation not just to improve efficiency, but also to enhance security, improve customer experience, and drive sustainable growth. At the same time, we cannot overlook the importance of resilience. In an age where cyber threats are ever-present, financial institutions need to prioritize cybersecurity to safeguard not only their assets, but also trust of their clients and investors. So, what should banks do moving forward? I believe there are a few clear priorities. First, invest in innovation. Banks need to lead in the development and adoption of cutting-edge financial technologies to stay ahead in an increasingly digital world. Second, support ESG initiatives. By embedding sustainability into their core operation and investment offerings, banks can be powerful agents of positive change. Third, strengthen geopolitical risk management. What does it mean? Incorporating intelligence-driven risk assessments will allow banks to better navigate uncertainties caused by geopolitical tensions. Fourth and last, but not for importance, build resilience. By investing in robust cybersecurity measures and enhancing operational resilience, banks can protect their clients, their investor, and their own operation from external shocks. In conclusion, while the challenges we face are considerable, I'm optimistic about the future of investments and the role banks will play. Through innovation, resilience, and a commitment to sustainability, we can build a financial system that not only delivers growth, but also create a more secure, equitable, and sustainable world. Thank you for your
Thank you very much, Marco. Okay. And now we ask Benedetta Cosmi, a journalist of our main newspaper, but she's probably speaking about something larger than financial because she's involved in social and in the future.
Thank you, Paolo. Tra l'altro ci dovrebbero essere dei giornalisti per un corso di formazione.
Sì, I have
Perché, diciamo,
just to say there is some journalist on the backstage because we are giving the opportunity to have some a day of credits for their formation. So
Bene.
if at the end, when we have some minutes more, we can ask, of course, to journalists to make some proposal.
Bene. Proseguo in italiano, però mi ha detto che abbiamo il nostro traduttore. Appunto per il Corriere un paio di mesi fa ho scritto un articolo, un corsivo per l'educazione finanziaria.
Mark, can you translate a few words to our foreigners? Yes. Or I do it. Okay.
Thank you very much. Il corsivo appunto partiva dai dati dell'indagine OCSE-PISA, Program International Student Assessment, dove gli studenti italiani quindicenni, nella comparazione dei sistemi sia scolastici sia di approccio all'educazione finanziaria, risultava un dato preoccupante. E oggi il vostro convegno qui in Italia per noi è un modo anche per sconfiggere quella maleducazione finanziaria che...
Allora, just to say it's come si dice maleducazione finanziaria.
Esatto,
Bad financial preparation of our journalists. So we are just trying in few minutes to explain to in Italian what we are doing in Europe. I'm sorry for foreigner, but I try to translate a little.
Un gap important. Vabbè, io dico, in pratica oggi per noi appunto questo contributo ad ascoltare voi sarà anche l'impegno dei giornalisti, dei colleghi presenti nel cercare di accorciare quelle distanze che hanno portato la lingua italiana in primis e gli studenti a percepire i temi dell'economia, della finanza, dei soldi come qualcosa di sporco, cattivo, distante.
So the endeavor today is to fill the gap between the perception of finance as something bad and dirty and money, and compared to a vision more positive and more constructive. So this was the subject of an article that Benedetta wrote in the Corriere della Sera, an op-ed a few weeks ago. No?
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect. Quindi la faccio breve, dico solo che l'educazione finanziaria ha come asset ovviamente i temi che oggi abbiamo parlato, toccano, intrecciano la sostenibilità, anche l'inclusione, ma diciamo, l'obiettivo principale, per esempio, quelli che io definisco i nativi sostenibili, quindi le nuove generazioni, next generation, a loro guardava, sicuramente ci fa capire che intreccia la vita sociale, i temi sociali, le relazioni sociali, quindi non è più un mondo distante. Se c'è stata un'epoca, soprattutto in Italia, in cui la finanza sembrava qualcosa di distante, oggi è innovation. Thank you very much.
So finance is innovation. This is the main message, and it's something that is in our lives every day, in our everyday life. It's not something distant, and it's part of sustainability. It's a pillar of sustainability, and so it's something that we have to be very much acquainted with, and this is the role of financial educators to spread knowledge and awareness.
Thank you.
Thank you to everybody. Thank you to Maria Pia Quaglia. She is very helpful in translating. Now we can ask people to put some questions to our speakers, and I can ask to Andrea Fassi to come here and to say something about your job and your ability to give information to your students.
Hi, I'm Andrea Fassi. I'm a trainer on finance and credits for institutional customers like bank, insurance. And we try to train the people on new laws. You speak about resiliency. Now we have DORA, that is something you must have in a bank, you must have in insurance, Digital Operational Resilience Act. Or we have NIS2, that is another must for strong customer authentication, for example. So cybersecurity. We have the laws, but we have to apply them in relationship with our customer. It's true what they have said. So, for example, Italian customers don't believe to equity world. It's too risky, but not because they evaluate the real risk. Because I don't know equity, so let's throw away. It's too complicated. I don't want to study or to understand or to do something like that. So the professional must make the job for their customer. They have to train the customer to understand in an easy way what it happens. For example, private bankers is like a magician for the most part of the customer. He knows something that is not comprehensible, and he has to make simple choices from really hard word. To understand finance is not so difficult, but too difficult for the 90% of our customers. So my job is trying to train and to explain to our professionals so that they can explain it to their customers that there are laws that protects investors and specifically retail investors or private investors, but not corporates or professionals. And it's not the world you have in the 80s when they try to sell everything. It's correct. Insurance is another item, because if you have protection and prevention, you have more liquidity you can invest. liquidity is not a good protection. It's too expensive, especially when you have inflation. And maybe it's not sufficient, because if a hard item happens to you, your liquidity is not enough. So if you have protection and investment and protection, that simple example. I want to invest to protect my family. But if I die tomorrow morning, probably my investment with 7 years time to give the right performance is not reached. If I have insurance investment product, the IBIPS, there is a debt insurance so that I can have back all my money even if I die tomorrow. So there is more protection. But normal customer doesn't know, doesn't understand why I have to make an insurance investment-based product. So this is my job, more or less. Thank you, Paolo.
Thank you, Andrea. I don't know if Francesco Caruso wants to add something, because you are very, very skilled in financial. Do you want to ask something or just to speak about your job? Are you ready? Yeah, no, it's a trap. Okay.
Thank you, Paolo. Good morning to everyone. I am Francesco Caruso. I work in financial sector. I own a firm that does consulting to banks and to private investors to better their investments and to better their knowledge. And in my personal experience, there is a lot of institutional history, and now actually I am in the investment committee of SIAT, that is the Society of of technical analysts. I've been also for 6 years in the World Committee of IFTA, that is the World Association. And one of the main goals that we have in SIAT is to deepen the knowledge, the financial knowledge of investors. And I think that this is one of the most interesting things that I heard today from the people that was speaking. And we do many events to try to make people understand what my colleague says. Yes, Andrea says that we have to understand the real kind of risk that there is in investing in financial instruments.
Okay. Do you want to speak a little about the site you are publishing in the web?
It's part of my job. As I told, we do independent advisory for people like private investors and even for professionals. And we are in consulting for some banks that ask us to prepare some kind of portfolio that is specifically devoted to some kind of investor. But I think that one of the best things that we can do is really to make people understand what is the mechanism behind the markets. And there are two mechanisms behind the markets. One is a financial mechanism. The other one is a psychological mechanism. That is the most important one, because we have to understand that markets are dominated by the sentiment of the people, and the sentiment of the people goes in cycles from fear to greed. And these are two very dangerous sentiments.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Francesco. And now, in a few minutes, we can have a coffee break. But if there is some question to our speakers, it's a moment to make it. Or otherwise, we can have a beautiful cup of coffee. Mark, please. Do you want a microphone? Will you come here?
I just wanted to come back on a comment from Paolo Mazzanti, specifically about the delegation of investment decisions to US and global asset managers, which is resulting in a flow of capital away from Italy and from Europe, and is resulting then in capital build-up outside, which is coming in and purchasing local companies. So you have a sort of a vicious circle. This is something that's discussed quite regularly. But I think there's a few dimensions to it. The first one is that it is generally accepted in academic circles that home bias in investor portfolios is a negative from a performance perspective. So from a pure academic standpoint, the globalization of individual investor portfolios is a natural phenomenon, and it is a phenomenon which provided it's balanced around the world. And I think one of the issues is perhaps that there is a tendency in the United States for home bias, so that you get a degree of imbalance. I don't think it's necessarily a problem. I think it's more the fact that what we're seeing in a globally invested population is that the size of the listed markets in Europe are tiny. So I think it's more a question of competitiveness and of building the size of the capital market in Europe independent of that flow. I think the focus on that flow is perhaps slightly misplaced. Can I ask?
Can you answer? Do you want to come here, or do you have a phone? No. Microphone there.
No, I agree. Of course, I'm not saying that European savings or Italian savings has to be invested in Italian firms. Not at all. But I say that the flow of savings from Europe to the United States asset industry, which is going on for 15 to 20 years. So if you multiply 3 to 400 billion per year per 20 years is around 8,000 billion of wealth, of European wealth, which is gone to the United States. I would say that if we had a big asset industry, we could attract savings from the United States and from Asia and to invest it all over the world. That's the problem is the one side direction from Europe, which is big savings, to the asset industry of the United States. This is the point that both Enrico Letta report and Mario Draghi report are underlined.
Maria Pia, puoi intervenire tu? I ask Maria Pia to say something because she is so skilled in this.
I think the size of the market is crucial. So that's why
Please, have a big microphone.
they're calling for a single stock, a European stock market. So if we want to be competitive with the US, we should have one single European stock market, not Frankfurt, Paris, and so I see the point of size, and with the size it comes. Yeah, well, a real market union, that what Letta was calling for too, because so there you're both. I agree with both. There's a question of size, so we should look at one single European stock market. Merging all the stock market, which is unrealistic. I mean, there's no political will to do this, and that would also bring bigger asset managers, because if we had a bigger market, it would all be. But it's today it looks unlikely, especially because politically single states, Germany, France, are weakening instead of. So this is a big problem for Europe, I think. I'll leave the stage.
Thank you very much. We have the stage for Jose Estevez from Madrid.
Thank you, Paolo. Thank you very much. Well, I appreciated a lot the words and the intervention of Mr. Paolo, because I think Paolo, because I think he put the idea on the core of the problems in relation to the European market and American market, and American industry. And the key word, in my opinion, is trust. Something is missing is trust. And what is missing this trust? This sentiment, Mr. Caruso pointed out before, very, very intelligent. In my opinion, trust is missing in Europe because there is not a level of protection on investment. What is the real law is protecting with the size and dimension of the European law? Because very, very speech from the political side, but at the end, there is not a real protection for investors. It is very important to be able not only to have a real and important, relevant education, like World Federation of Investors is trying to do. I think is critical. It's very important. It's the first point. But the second point has to be necessarily to have a real protection of the law, the European law, with a single market of the investors, because otherwise we are not advancing in relation to European market, in American markets or Asian markets. I think we have to think it over clearly and to have a real protection. Something other thought is, I think is important, missing in this round table, is concerning the idea of the European companies, European industry. You mentioned Paolo, but European companies have a serious problem. Is that the protection of the shareholders are not updated, are not adequate. The shareholder, the minority shareholders are not rightly protected, not either. It's a pity, but it's the real situation. We are functioning with law of the 19th century. Look at, sorry, we are in Italy, I appreciate the law. Look at the general meeting new law in Italy. But in Spain, it's not too much better. So we need a protection, a legislation saving or protecting the investors of the savers, of the new savers, if you want, Paolo. We can make a political statement, very, very beautiful political statement, but we need this protection to improve the trust. Without, there is no trust, there is no manner to advance.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jose. And I don't know if our French friend wants to take 5 minutes, a little speech. We have nothing to add to our next time. Okay, now we can have a coffee outside and we come back in. There is another question. Just a moment.
I've got 1 minute between you and your coffee. I just on following on from what Jose said, I wanted to come back on Cristina Tajani's speech, which was excellent, particularly on the responsible lawmaking aspect. Laws tend to stay around for a very long time. There is a huge responsibility that is attached to lawmaking to ensure that the bits that people aren't interested in, and the bits for which, in particular, the corporate lobbies are not interested in, are properly paid attention to and find themselves in law in such a way that shareholder rights, in particular, which are a hugely important check and balance on the operation of companies and the operation of boards of directors of companies, are not forgotten. The fact that they're only fundamentally important at the point when there is a trouble, at the point when minorities are being overridden, at the point where companies are misbehaving, means that it's very easy to forget them because they're out of sight and out of mind. Institutions like Better Finance, institutions like the WFI exist to try and ensure that those rights remain in the minds of lawmakers at the point where those important laws are made. So I thought it was a fantastic comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you. And now we have a cup of coffee, not more than 30 minutes. We are to come back immediately in 55 minutes. We are not late, so we can. I'm very happy we have connection. So Yella, she's the president of Better Finance, will speak about transition investing and so on.
Oh. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much to Paolo Brambilla for having me here. Is that okay? Great. Does it work?
The both of them, because this is Slovenian.
Ah,
and-
okay. Okay, now that we solved all the technical problems and I have 2 microphones, everything is great. Thank you very much for having me here. I'm very honored. And I would like to also say thank you not only to Paolo, but also to the World Federation, to JP, as I learned, Jean-Pierre, it's easier, and Mark, and of course also to all the others like Kasia and Sarah who were involved in the preparation of this conference. Let me briefly introduce Better Finance to you. This is a European organization seated in Brussels. We represent as members shareholder associations, investor associations, insured associations, and altogether we represent more than 4 million private investors in Europe. And we are very busy in Brussels. As you can imagine, we are now trying to meet all the new EU parliamentarians that just began their office in this term. And there are a lot of new faces that we are getting to meet in Brussels. So that's pretty new parliament and also new commission, which makes our life also a little bit more difficult. And as you can tell from the title of our survey, are also taking care of transition, investing, and engagement. Of course, I will explain you in detail what we mean by this, but maybe let me just comment a little bit. ESG, as you remember, the Green Deal was very much in the focus in Brussels the last EU Commission and the last EU Parliament. Now the member states have different other problems, as you mentioned, that is one of it. And so we are now not talking as much about ESG anymore, but we are talking about the competitiveness of the EU market. I think it is the major for all of us. But nevertheless, we should not forget about ESG because the issue is still there. The Green Deal is still there and it's not accomplished. And there must be a way to finance the Green Deal. And that's why the financial markets and the capital markets are so important. So let me start with this survey. Yes, we, which means the 3 organizations of Better Finance, New Savers, Italy, French organization and the German organization, we made surveys at our organizations. Remember that, for example, our organization in Germany, we have more than 30,000 members, mainly private investors. And we tried to find out what they think about transition plans and transition investing. And of course, before I start the survey, I should tell you a little bit about what is transition plan. Well, the transition plan is actually the company plan to change the climate. It's a strategy to achieve climate neutrality until 2050. And as you remember, with all the listed companies, most of them already have climate plans. They have short-term objectives, mid-term objectives, and long-term objectives. And goal is also from the investor's point of view to disclose all the emissions, scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions. So that is about transition plans. The second question is, and that's from the investor's point of view, that's transition investment. And that's a very important issue because it's different from green investment. You know, I've heard also from the German fund industry, they love to invest in green companies, but this doesn't change the current situation. What we need to do is we need to invest in, let's say, dirty companies, the brown companies, to support their transition to become green. And this is what is called transition investing. And a lot of the Jewish funds don't like that because, of course, they want to say we invested green and we sell green products. But now we are very happy that the EU Commission invented this new investment category, which is called transition investing, because it will help us to change the world to less emissions. Maybe I give the example of this German company, which is a utility company called RWE. In former times, they had mainly nuclear plants. They had a lot of coal and all of this, but now they are really on their way to the transition to a green company. So of course, they also need money for this transition, and that's the main goal actually of this transition investing. So let's have a look at the general meeting season in Europe. This is taken from a presentation of George. And if we take a look at the figures, and it's interesting to see, Mark, that most of the say on climate votes are actually from the UK and from France. And to be very honest, in Germany we had just one because it's not a law, it is voluntary, and so it's not as popular right now. But if we take a look at those board proposals where a say on climate was on the agenda, we see that in 2022 there were 36 of these board proposals, and in 23, 24, and this season only 22 of these proposals. So we see a decline in these proposals, which does not mean that it's not as high on the agenda, because you do not have to vote on these proposals each and every year. And if you take a look at the average level of support on these say on climate votes, you can see the support even increased a little bit from the 91% to the 92.6%. So what are the trends with respect to say on climate votes? And that's very important when we take a look at the say on climate votes. We have, first of all, the vote on the climate transition plan. And then secondly, there is the progress report, which is even more important because, first of all, you need a vote on the climate plan, but then you have to take a look whether the company really complies with what they publish as an objective. And that's the progress report, which is really very important. If you take a look at the climate transition plans, you see that it has lowered over the last 3 years. And if you take a look at the environment and social shareholder proposals, again, you see a decrease in these support proposals in this year compared to 23 and 22. So let's come to our survey, which is done by several members of Better Finance. And we just wanted to find out, what do investors, retail investors, think about transition plans? What do they think about transition investing? Numerous studies have showed that there is a clear link between a successful transition to a net zero objective and effective shareholder engagement, which in our view is very important. But as you know from our recent studies on shareholder rights, there are still a lot of obstacles, for example, with regard to cross-border exercise of shareholder rights, which is very, very difficult, even though we have the shareholder rights direct. So, two things we asked were the transition investing and the transition plans. Let me start with the survey and the key figures and trends we were finding out. The first question was, are you aware of what transition investing transition plans mean? And as you can see, let's say positive outcome is that the majority of the respondents felt familiar with the transition investing concept and with the transition plan. Nevertheless, if you take a look at the figures, there is still a third of all the respondents that is still not aware of these terms, the meaning of these terms, which means there is still a lot to do. Another question was, is it okay?
Okay. The next.
Is it okay? Great.
Sorry.
Technical. Have you come across any proposals to be voted on, say, on climate or any climate-related shareholder resolutions during the general meeting? There you see it's only rarely, regularly the case, but yes, once or twice we find it. Yes. Yeah. Should I go back once?
Okay.
Thank you. So you see, it's only a minority. And yes, we are familiar with the transition investing concept. That's 34%. And also with transition plans, we have 32%. So this is still a majority, to be honest. And nevertheless, we have that problem. There's still a third that is not aware of what is going on. So this is the next slide. Say on climate resolution during the general meeting. And here we can see that even if the respondents do not add, say, on climate proposals on their agenda, they still think that it is important. The issue is important to have a say on climate, and that is, I think, a very interesting outcome. And as I said, in Germany, we just had one company, which is the GEA company, which had the say on climate on their agenda with very high support of the general meeting, but is still not yet the standard in Germany. So we also asked, have you come across any proposals, resolutions, or agenda items regarding transition plans? And here again, we had only 24% that saw once or twice such resolutions on the agenda. Again, a lot of them said 46%. Yes, but transition, in our view, is important and maybe interesting also for the other side. We still have 19% that believe transition topics are not as important. So we should also take this into consideration. Then we asked for several scenarios. We had 3 scenarios that we asked for. Scenario 1 was if the company puts climate-related resolution on the agenda and you vote in favor, what did the company provide that you really vote with yes? And here it's interesting to see what the investor expects. The investor expects a clear commitment to a transition from a heavily polluting company to a green company. They also expect clearly stipulated transition plans and climate strategies, and they also expect a clear alignment with scientific recommendations. So I think this is also something companies should take into consideration once they put such to say on climate on their agenda. Scenario 2 was the company puts climate-related resolutions on their agenda, and the investor voted with no. And we asked, why did you vote not in favor? And that's something we really hear quite often. Investors say the whole resolution was too complicated. We didn't understand it. That's one of the key issues we always find in Brussels whenever we talk about these issues. And we always say, keep it short and simple so that the investor can really understand it. And of course, climate transition is something complex, no doubt about it. But towards the investor, it should be made clear and transparent in an easy way, in an understandable way. If not, it doesn't help. And then there is the danger that the investors will vote with no. We also covered a third scenario. Have not come across any proposal or action regarding climate resolutions in your general meeting. What do you prefer? And we have a large majority of 58% to see the topic brought up more frequently and also explained in a more simple way. And more than a third that they do not see a change and it's not sure how the climate transition is really related. So we also had a look, interesting enough, Paolo, to find out what is the difference in the on the respondents side. So we had a look at who is experienced, who is not experienced, the retail investor, and here you see Italy and Germany, because for France the figures are not that clear. That's why we just have these figures. And as you can see in the statistics, obviously German retail investors think of them as experienced, and the Italians not as much. And but this is actually very typical also for our organization. We represent investors that believe they are highly sophisticated in investment education. Probably it's true because we have quite high average in the age. So it's very possible that they have very qualified financial education. So, yeah, here are the single questions on the difference between experienced and inexperienced respondents. I don't want to go too much into detail here. I think the interesting outcome is that at the end, when we analyzed the experienced, the unexperienced investor, the difference was actually not that great. That's so let me summarize the whole survey. What the survey of Better Finance clearly shows is that there is a need for improved communication from the company's side. They should really deliver good explanations, understandable explanations, and discuss climate resolutions as often as possible in the general meeting. It also shows, as we always say, the growing importance of transparency and corporate commitment to the climate challenges. So once you really publish your climate objectives, you should follow them and you should regularly be transparent whether you reached the progress you announced or not, because that's very important for your own credibility. You know, people only believe and trust you if you deliver what you tell them before. Yes, and the difference between experienced and non-experienced retail investors is not as large as we thought. And at the end, it's all about engagement, which is very important. And effective engagement is the way to go, especially for the investors. Here I am, it's institutional investors, but of course it's also about retail investment. So I can only say we need more shareholder engagement to support the whole process of the transition investing, which is still something which is not on the daily agenda. Thank you very much. But of course, if you have questions, I will.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very interesting. I know the result of research because I was part of the research itself. But important is to have this kind of resume, and I think everybody can understand the situation, even if, of course, Italy is not the better country for this kind of. No, but I mean, people in Italy are less informed. During the morning, you have the reason of this difficult for Italian people to understand what stock exchange is offering. But now, in a few minutes, we will speak about stock exchange, for Italian stock exchange, and we have just to wait for a while because, as you can understand, our link to Brussels is still not working. No, all your speech has been done, unless the last 2 minutes, and they asked me to wait because, of course, the web is something not working. So, if there is other question, Kasia, are you have some question? No, it's working now. Okay.
So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now I am asking Massimo Giorgini, Senior Equity Sales Manager di Borsa Italiana. Let's say Euronext now, but it's the same for us. And at the beginning, there is a speech from him. After we open the round table to the other guests.
Just a minute, please.
We are preparing a chart.
Okay. Roberto, va. Roberto, ti risulta? Ok. È già connessa alle slide? Lascio.
Bravo.
Ok. Come preferisci?
Voi siete
Leave it the podium for logistic reason. And, I think it's now to say good afternoon, good morning. So thank you so much for being here today. For me, it's a pleasure with you. Also this one.
Slovenian.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So it's a pleasure to be here today, and I want to thank all of you, all the participants, in particular also the sponsors, all the companies that helped to create this wonderful symposium today. And let me give a special thanks to Paolo for the very kind invite to talk here today with you. What is the stock exchange very Borsa in the context of the Euronext Group? Let me start with the slide. It should be here, probably. No. No.
Probably, yes. Come back for a while. Okay.
Oh, perfect.
Only this one.
Can you see it better now? Yes. Perfect. So, Borsa Italiana, just a little bit of history of economics, was founded more than 200 years ago by Eugenio Napoleone as Bourse of Milan, actually. And starting from April 2021, is now part of the leading diversified exchange group called Euronext, including 7 geographies now. So basically, Euronext is operating regulated markets not only in Italy, but also in France, in the Netherlands, in Ireland, in Belgium, in Lisbon. So we have, and clearly in the region, as well markets. So we are a corporate trading venue offering equities, bonds, ETF, certificates, product that we will be addressing today. A company now which is vertically integrated, not only providing only equity services, but also clearing post-trade services, including clearing and settlement. So today, I would like to try to bring your attention to a couple of topics via three simple questions. The first one is why investors are interested to equity markets. The second one is why exchanges are so important at the moment as a financial institution for the stability of the financial system. And the last one is to try to discover together, and I'm very happy to take your question, if we are assisting to a democratic paradigm shift in retail trading, as also mentioned by Antonella Massari from the Association of Italian Private Banking. Before doing that, let's start with the numbers on the Italian markets in particular, as we are in Milan, Paolo. So basically, what I prefer to do is a little bit of performance of the Italian stock market this year. So we see indeed equity markets have been struggling compared to bonds market because clearly of the risk appetite, as mentioned by Antonella, but also because of market condition. What is happening today is that Italy, after a very good 2023, is performing very well in terms of volumes on across all the segments of equities. So not only the blue chip stocks, but also mid and small caps. It's something that we don't talk too much in Italy because we are focused on the listing process and the primary market. So how many companies are listing, how many are the listing, why, and so on. But if you look at volumes, which is the real addressable liquidity, all of us as investors can interact with. Italy has been the fastest growing equity market in Europe this year, also last year, growing double digits on blue chips. The Euronext Milan and FTSE MIB index segment is growing plus 14-15% this year. Well, actually, what you see inside is the start of a sector rotation. So we talked about SMEs before. What you see now is that small caps are overperforming in terms of volume growth to chips. So clearly not in absolute, but the appetite for investors to enter into SMEs, particularly small caps, is increasing. And we see also increased fragmentation, which is helping in terms of sectors. So not only banks and utilities, energy companies, but we also see automotive stocks like Ferrari and San Paolo, Leonardo, the geopolitics, Saipem in the gas sector, are the stocks that are traded the most. So why retail investors in Italy and in other geographies are so interested in equity markets from a secondary trading standpoint? Well, if you see this chart is telling us two things who are factual and really real. The first one is the fact that most of the trading in Italy is happening during continuous trading during the day, not in the options. Okay, why actually you see other markets today, part of the trading is happening during the auction. Retail investors are not trading during the auction. Usually, all of us we do trade during the day, not at the beginning or at the end of the day. This is a testament on the left side. So basically, less than 20% of trading is happening in the auction. All the rest is happening between 9 and 5:30 during the day. On the right-hand side, this is taken from the Federation of European Securities Exchanges, from FISI, another very important leading association in Europe. This is turnover velocity, a simple number telling you how much time the shares are exchanging hands during the year. If you take the free flow, what is free to be exchanged, okay, how many times shares are exchanging hands between different shareholders, being retail or institutional. And what you see is that the Italian stock exchange is leading Europe by turnover velocity, which is a clear reflection of the intense activity of day traders, retail traders. Let me clarify. Retail investors can be categorized in many ways. So we have retail clients, we have private banking clients, we have super high net worth individuals, we have traders, and we have long-term investors. Okay, so this is what you see from the reality of data. One of the reasons why Italians are interested in not only Italians, the Italian stocks is because if you take the Italian index as a sum of all their components is one of the indices in Europe, probably the most important index in terms of dividend. So basically, the amount of dividends paid by the Italian companies. Why? Because in indices you will find mostly banks with recurrent profits and utilities, okay, energy, oil and gas sector, so on. So basically, the dividend is very high, and indeed, long-term investor, this is making very interesting the exposure. And one of the topics that we discuss in this Capstone symposium, which is thank you, Paolo, because it's offering the opportunity for me to shed some light about the performance of the country. Usually, we measure equity indices performance, stocks, SMIB, S&P 500 in price index, meaning that basically we carve out the dividends paid by the company. But if you are a retail long-term wise investor, diversifying your portfolio in equities or equity mutual funds, as discussed before with again with Antonella. Thank you. If you consider the blue line is basically the index which is compounding the dividend base. So basically, if you go back to the Lehman collapse at the beginning, today, performance is really relevant, particularly following the COVID outbreak. This is more technical, but I wanted to put a slide just to talk about fragmentation. Some of you some of the panelists before mentioned fragmentation in Europe, meaning that we don't have a single market, a single supervisory authority. Actually, we do have ESMA with some powers that at the moment are probably limited compared to the capacity of the US regulators. We have fragmentation in equity trading, not only at local level, that we have multiple exchanges, multiple settlement of clearing houses, but we have also in terms of double listing. So we have other exchanges who are challenging like the primary markets. We're basically trying to double these stocks and offer those stocks to investors. Market is very fragmented. So if you take some stocks, some German or UK stocks, you will see that the primary market is now owning less than 50-40% of the total volume on BMW. Well, actually, Italy is another special case where still 75-80% of the volume is done on the primary exchange. You can see that on the left-hand side, while on the right-hand side, you see how much time during the day, units in percentage, the local primary market, Italiana, Euronext, is displaying the best prices on the bid and on the ask. So basically, to cut it short, this is the answer, my answer to this question, why investors are really keen to interact on a day-to-day basis with equity market in Italy, is because a concept of probably liquidity and stability of the platform and also the type of offering they find. The second question is why, remember what was why exchanges are an important market infrastructure provider or important for the stability of the financial system. Because talking about exchanges today is to me just telling you a part of the story. Okay, the ecosystem is much more complex and exchanges are vertically integrated across trading and post trading. In this case, it's doing significant interest investment in Italy. First of all, we have just repatriated the clearing business from other countries into Italy. So basically, all clearing is now performed in Rome out of Euronext Clearing. Euronext has a number of settlement houses to ensure settlement of all the trades, and the picture is taken on the web. It's the new data center that is operating starting from June 22. All trading equities, bonds, ETF, certificates, any asset class for the whole group. So yes, I'm going very fast. So basically, this is very important because it's giving you a sense of the investments that every exchange, not only Euronext, is putting the core of the strategy, okay, for the stability of the system. Last question, to go very fast, and we move very fast also toward a lunch, which is very important. So, it's been a long day. So the question: are we assisting to a paradigm shift in retail trading demographics? Okay, before answering with my response, let's talk about what the regulator is telling us. The first one is Consob. Consob has been issuing research in 2022 over trading behavior of Italians during the COVID pandemic. And what they found is that number of new investors, retail investors, came into the market trading in very skilled way, particularly equities, providing liquidity to the market with an average, let's say with the age on average was 10 years younger than before. Okay, the same evidence from the Autorité des marchés financiers in France, where basically they noticed number by number that the investors in stocks in France doubled, literally doubled, including also ETF, and did the same after COVID. So basically something that is going to be permanent. The last study is from Assogestioni, which is another important association along with the APB, is the Association of Italian Asset Managers, and they found, that's very interesting from a demographic standpoint, as also Jelle was saying before, young generation are investing via saving accumulation plans that we call PAC in Italy. Okay, this is very good because it's providing some increased level of financial literacy, knowing that you need to store your money through time and not as a stock, but as a flow. Response on the Italian side, in Italy, on the Italian equity market, we estimate 25% of trading volume during the day, and this is conservative number, it's done by retail investor, by individual private citizen. This is a unique case in Europe. For sure, it's something that is making a market very similar to other markets in other regions outside Europe. The same evidence that we have of this volume increase is coming from Euronext Lisbon and Euronext Oslo, where at least 15% of the volume is indeed coming from retail investors. So if you sum up all these things, what I want to say is that the industry is changing. All the partners today are providing testament and different cases of this change, which is also a paradigm shift in demographics for private banking or very simple retail need for trading. Exchanges are playing a role with banks, commercial networks, and trading association. And I think the debate regarding capital market union is a foundation of the future of these changes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, okay, thank you very much to Massimo, because it has been very interesting. And now we have a small round table and ask, of course, other friends, Lars Erik Fox, to come out to come here, and with for representative for World Federation of Investors, Pat Donnelly coming from the United States, Christian Verbic, president of the Pan-Slovenian Investor Association, Giedrius Steponkus, Lithuanian Shareholder Association. Thank you very much. Now the first to speak is Lars. If you are ready, Lars, you can stay where you want, or in the microphone there, or on this point, as you prefer. The moderator of this roundtable is Pat. So, I don't know if Pat, do you want to introduce you, or we'll make Lars to speak, and after we go? Okay, Lars, please. The microphone is yours.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for hosting and attending the event today. I am from the United States, so I have a niece who lives in the Netherlands, and she informed me that people who speak 2 languages are bilingual, people who speak 3 languages are trilingual, people who speak 4 languages are Dutch, and people who speak 1 language are Americans. So here I am. Without further ado, like to introduce Lars, next speaker. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me here. First, a couple of words about my background. I was the managing director or CEO of the Swedish Shareholders Association for 22 years, up till 2006. And after that, I've been the chairman of the Swedish Foundation for Schäfermotion. Excuse my sore throat. I don't have a cold. It's like this. I'm sorry. And perhaps most important, I've been on the WFI board. Oh, thank you. Since 1985, next year, 40 years. So I guess that's why I'm here today. Thank you. A few words about Swedish stock market. We have more than 900 companies listed on the 4 Swedish stock exchanges. We have 2,350,000 not retail investors, they're individual investors, private investors, who owns on the average 5 different stocks. And this is 22% of the total population of Sweden, which is 10.5 million people. So we have 2.35 million individual investors, and 7 out of 10 Swedes are owners of mutual funds. So you could really say that investing in stocks and mutual funds is really a natural movement in Sweden. And maybe that's why we have a terrific market. The Nasdaq Stockholm, and before that, the Stockholm Stock Exchange has had the best performance in the world between 1966 and 2020, 9.5% in real terms. And this is not my words, it's Credit Suisse. Okay. Instead of telling you how important it is to increase or improve the level of financial literacy, I will give you one practical example of what we actually do in Sweden to increase the level of financial literacy. And this is a project that has been going on since the beginning of this century. We call it personal finance for high school students in Sweden. High schools, maybe I should say secondary schools, I don't know, but we call it high schools anyway. It's an educational project that was initiated by the Swedish Foundation for Schäfermotion in 2005 or 2004. And our goal is to improve high school students' knowledge in personal finance, as well as saving equities and mutual funds. And another important goal is, long-term goal, is to gain public acceptance another important long-term goal is to gain public acceptance for the idea to introduce personal finance as a compulsory subject in the school curriculum. And we're beginning to see some progress in this direction when it comes to the next school curriculum in Sweden. Aktiespararna, the Swedish Shareholders Association, has been the main financier of this project, and the Young Shareholders Association with almost 9,000 members is administering the project from the very beginning. Other financial contributors are Nasdaq Stockholm from the very beginning. The Swedish Securities Markets Association has come in later, as has the Swedish Investment Fund Associations. But they're all important contributors to this project. The Swedish Foundation for Share Promotion is the coordinator of this project. We started in 2006 when the Swedish Shareholders Association decided to allocate 1.5 million euros to a fund whose purpose it was to inspire students to learn more about the stock market and saving equities and mutual funds. So far, all parties have invested approximately 4 million euros into this project. And since the project started, our young lecturers have met approximately 350 students from all programs and grade levels in high schools all over Sweden to provide them with insights into personal finance, saving equities, and mutual funds. In 2023, we carried out 704 lectures and met with 31,550 students. This means that we today are covering about 30% of the Swedish age group. 30%. Our 15 lecturers are young, just over high school age, and this concept has been a success ever since we started this project. In connection with the lectures, all students receive a copy of a textbook called For Your Dreams. The purpose of the book is to provide the students with basic knowledge of personal finance, the stock market, and why they save in equities or invest in equities and mutual funds. Finally, another purpose of the project is to draw public attention to the fact that financial literacy is of vital importance for a company's ability to develop and compete in a global world. Therefore, the project is taking active part in the public debate concerning personal finance and savings in equities and mutual funds in Sweden. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I asked Pat to speak about the United States for a while. We are not late, but we have to try to be short.
Okay. Do we have the slides by any chance? No, I'll go very here. I can stand up and I don't know if we have the slide. No worries. I will start speaking. So I'm with an organization called Better Investing in the United States. We are 74 years old, and we've had a focus on training and instructing individual investors investing in the stock market, particularly. So how to analyze stocks, how to analyze equities. And we also do that through teaching them how to form what are called investment clubs. So small groups of individuals that are friends, families, co-workers that can come together and learn together about how to analyze individual companies and perhaps build a portfolio of stocks together as a learning expedition. What we've found after 74 years is that our membership is becoming more and more challenged as financial literacy in the United States has been on a decline for many, many years. So as part of the presentation today, we were talking about, how can we correct on what's being done in the United States regarding financial literacy? And it really comes down to three primary areas. The stock exchanges participate in financial education. The government provides funding and initiatives for individual organizations. And then there are private interests, such as nonprofit organizations that come together to provide the financial education. So that's our big takeaway at the point is for some best practices, if we could proceed along, and I am doing this quickly to give everyone else a chance. So some of our best practices are to see that, we need regulatory change, some initiatives. So recently, within the last several years, personal financial literacy has been put into the public education system of the United States. Currently, I think the number is 35 or 37 of our 50 states actually require formal personal financial literacy in the high school or secondary school systems. There's about 16 of those that actually require a full semester, a formalized course around financial literacy. So it's not universal at this point in time, but it is growing and it is improving. One of the challenges with that then is who is going to instruct the instructors that need to now take on that educational challenge. So our organization, Better Investing, along with other organizations, are very interested in participating in educating the educators so that we can expand the financial literacy. We've also recognized that, for example, if you do not have, as we say in the US, if you have more month left than you have paycheck, you're not going to be interested in investing in individual equities or in your 401k. If I cannot pay my rent and my groceries and my car payments, if all of that takes all of my money, I have nothing left over to invest. So we need to really get back to basics to make sure that folks do free up enough money so that they can participate in the investments. The other thing is that a lot of the investing that does occur happens through our individual retirement accounts at our employment, which accounts for a large amount of the participation that we do see in the individual markets. However, there's questions we would like to pose the question is how do people understand how they will direct their funding in their retirement accounts at work? That's a separate environment entirely, but it is an area that we're looking to investigate as well to provide education to people as they work and direct their funds. 3 minutes. I am done. So I'll be available at lunch if there's any questions or comments. So thank you very much. And then next would be if I want to explain this chart. Okay, this chart is okay. One of the things is the role of stock exchanges, as it says on the chart. The stock exchanges are not required to provide financial education in the U.S. at least. However, they do provide educational programs and provide funding for educational programs. So here's a small listing of those. And then one of the other things that we wanted to make sure we pointed out, if we move on to the next slide, please, is the different exchanges. So the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ are different exchanges, and they each have their own separate educational programs and programming that they provide for. So this is a listing of those programs. In short, what the real takeaway is, there is no shortage of effort trying to push out financial education. It's a matter of, can we get enough people to receive and accept that financial education in the U.S.? And then finally, there are, let's see, sorry. Yeah, these are the different private organizations that also put on the funding as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now I ask Christian Berwich, Pan-Slovenian Investors representative. Okay, it's complicated. It doesn't matter. We put it, it's always something changing here. Come on. Wait for a while.
Yes, hello everyone. I believe that there is no need because of the technical situation, but anyway, I'm very glad to be here. My name is Christian Derbic, representing Pan-Slovenian Investors and Stakeholders Association, covering neighboring Croatia as well. As most of you probably know, Slovenia and Ljubljana, where we have our premises, is less than 5 hours away from Milan by car. Of course, if traffic is not very dense. Otherwise, I'm also representing the European Federation of Investors and Financial Services Users as a board member, as well being honored as a board member of the World Federation of Investors. And considering this occasion, I'm also a member of FSUG, Financial Services Users Group, at the European Commission and several other bodies. Regarding the education, let me share our experience from Slovenia. So, of course, our efforts as an association were for almost 20 years. We have an anniversary next year, 20th anniversary, to get topics also in the curriculum at the basic primary level or else. We did not succeed. It's even more important than in a case, let's say, established capital societies and states that we have previously a chance to hear about. It's a great example of Sweden, also the case of the US. In our case, when there was a change of the social economical system, socialist to capitalist, there was a process of privatization, so-called transition, and each and every citizen became a shareholder and a share owner. So the education, of course, is even more important in such cases. And since there was none, there was, of course, let's say, the present climate in society, and I, otherwise a professor, decided to go into this topic and to take care of informing, educating, and also protecting the rights of the it was said before, minority or shareholders, individual, retail, private investors. It was more or less, like I said, all the citizens. Nowadays, unfortunately, we just have close to 100,000 left, 2 billion of all the citizens being investors in the capital market. So did we have our...
Can we show the video you prepare for us?
Yeah, I mean...
if you can, because I don't know the connection, but I think we can do it.
Let's not lose time with it.
Okay.
So yeah, this is basically our webpage. This one is in Slovenian, so probably down there, or you have also the English one. It might be better. So regarding education and information for shareholders and people that are really getting in touch with us on a daily basis, tens and hundreds of them. And we have a lot of cases also on the courts, in the legislation process regarding our international activities. Also, we established so-called share support program that we offered the ones that are not investors or shareholders to join us with what is another thing was not mentioned today. It's the cost of being an investor, especially for minority shareholders or individual investors. The cost of being an owner is very important. important. Also, of the transactions you have with shares in such a case. We have quite some listed companies in Slovenia regarding this matter. Unfortunately, less and less. There is a video of one of them as well, and one of the largest listed companies called Insurance Trigal. We choose also them because they are offering investment also during insurance and connected to pension programs. Was also a topic today, previous a little bit. But in any case, so regarding the share support program that we established, we are taking care of representing at the general assemblies of the companies, the ones.
Just a moment, there is a video.
Okay, so this is a good opportunity for maybe some of you.
Over 5,000 employees share our mission. Buildings, Briglo Group has been proudly reaching peaks ever since the parent insurance company was established in 1900. Started as an ambitious local pioneer, Briglo Group now has companies in all regional markets and reinsurance. The group has formed the market leader in Slovenia and Balkan region. Over 5,000 employees share our mission. Building a safer future with responsive, simple, and reliable solutions and services. We are problem solvers wherever and wherever clients need us. We support sports spectacles and athletes, encourage music talents, and make our environment both safer and cleaner. Because for the top, you must always push the bar higher and try harder.
Okay, thank you. But by the way, Triglav is the highest mountain in Slovenia, so it's this is an insurance group present also in the whole region, like it was. Yeah, the echo. No? Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, maybe yes. Okay, perfect. This is the English webpage. Definitely are very welcome to visit it. If you have any further questions, of course, I'm here available for further explanation. In another minute and a half, we would just like to finish our efforts regarding the share support program, which we consider important also for maybe other countries, especially in Europe. We definitely would like to see cross-border ownership and so-called common capital market and all what it goes with. Today's topic that was mentioned, that we should have maybe one major stock exchange. Europe definitely help, so on. But with our share support program, we are offering minority shareholders to represent them, even on the general assemblies of the companies regarding dividend policies and so on, or in courts and litigations where it's necessary. We have a lot of cases of squeeze out, takeovers, stuff like that. And on the other side, of course, we're enabling them to have the cost of their ownership as low as possible in a share support program, and also with the transactions, because we make packages of shares, there is an interest, and we negotiate with the ones that might be interested in buying them. So we're quite efficient, and this is maybe something that might be of your interest to check out as well. And thank you very much for Paolo.
Thank you to you. You are very helpful for our position always. Now the speech to Giedrius Steponkus, coming from Lithuania, and I found for you your charts, but I don't know exactly how it works. Okay, find it. Did you find your charts? We can ask Anna Chiara to come here because she's the technician. This is complicated for me.
Thank you very much for having me here. Thank you very much for having me here. And yes, it takes a bit of boldness to speak about literacy in such a turbulent times. I would say global shift of paradigm, which generates a lot of different kind of risks. But at this intervention, I would say, at our table, I would like to one remark, one point raised, and one question. So I shall start from remark. From previous presentations, I calculated that it was a very rarely used term, capital market union. Well, I would, as an individual investor, I would switch this name and would name it saving and investment union, because it sounds better for point of view of individual investors. And also now it's about financial literacy. I would like to unpack a bit because financial literacy entails at least three different components. It means financial attitudes, financial behavior, and financial knowledge. I would say that everything should start from attitude formation. If there is no attitude, there is no education, because there is no motivation for education, and nobody could help. Even best programs wouldn't help. And then if investors has attitude to motivation to get freedom, financial freedom, they would have to turn behavioral patterns to form. Because I think that discipline is more important than knowledge, especially nowadays, because knowledge could be generated by AI. Nobody could compete anymore if somebody tried to get acquainted with that. He had seen that so many plethora of apps who could replace not one but 1,000 humans at offices, starting from legal and also analytics, and it is getting so fast changing that knowledge is already losing value. Here we have from OECD data about literacy, well, in 3 components from all countries. I am delighted to know that Italy and Lithuania is on par and almost at the average of Europe. Yes, this is my point. And to conclude, I would say that skills are more important than knowledge in these days.
Thank you, guys. You are always. Sorry?
One question. I said that there will be one question for Massimo from Euronics. I have a question. It was impressive to know that you integrated settlements with trading floor, and also you brought operations to Milan. Congratulations on that. But in Europe, there are 35 stock exchanges and 25 or so central depositories. In United States, we have 1 depository in only 2 main exchanges. What are you going to do? What's next for Euronext?
It's a simple question, as you can imagine, and it's a question that I'm not able to address. Apologies. So I can give you confirmation of the fact that we are running different market structure setup. So by law, US, you have 1 single settlement company, which is DTCC. If you look at option, you have OCC, which is the Option Clearing Corporation. For example, we had Pat, thank you, in the panel can confirm. So it's a complete different setup. There is also a single national information system, which is disseminating prices, which is another sort of story. And probably at this point in time, the evolution we are now is that Europe is not United States of Europe. Is something that has been created with the Treaty of Maastricht in 1992, evolved with the euro currency. We are losing part of our power every day in every single country to delegate power at central level. So I think, in my personal view, it's a process. We will know the outcome. It's definitely a long process. It's not a short process, but clearly the benefits are there. To answer your question, what exchanges taken per se are doing? Well, probably Euronext is the only exchange provider, market infrastructure, where we are consolidating 7 countries. Well, if you see the other groups, you have indeed Deutsche Börse, which is only Dutch exchange. You have LSE, or you have SIX Swiss with BME. We do it as Spain. So and I'm coming with you because Nasdaq is very important. Nasdaq is very important because actually they were one of the first to consolidate. Indeed, the Nordic countries have been in Stockholm, and what represented by the chair of WFI is impressive. So,
thank you very much. I saw some young students there coming from Berlin. Are you giving us your opinion about this fact? Can you come here? Do you want to speak, or we are too shy? Okay, so you let us to go to the lunch. Okay. Can you try this final speech?
Coming back to Pat's presentation, I think we all have a reason to learn from the American example when it comes to financial education. Thank you, Pat, for that presentation.
Paolo, could you stimulate a question or two from
Okay,
the
there is some question. We have a few minutes, but we can answer easily to everybody if you have to ask something. Mark will answer. Come here for the question so we can hear you.
Thank you. No, actually, it's a very simple question to all different associations in all different countries. Other than association, for example, in US, you told about different retail groups, investors that come together and learn together. Do you have also some tools to do it? Like which platform do you use, and how is the learning process structured for everyone?
Matt has a very specific response.
Pap, it's up to you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I thought about that. We should have had a little bit of a demonstration, but yes, our organization, so betterinvesting.org, we have a specific framework and methodology that we coach and mentor by, and that is represented in an online tool that we walk people through when they are looking specifically at individual stock equities. So it's a combination, I would say, of a lot of fundamental understanding about the company, evaluating the profitability of the company, evaluating the management. Management's a very important aspect, the tenure of the company, their attitude, their approach. Then we do some evaluation of what are the right prices to purchase the stock at. Speaking strictly as a stock investor in this example, the worst thing that you can do in investing in the stock is paying too much for that stock. You have to get the stock at a reasonable price, and we spend a lot of time focusing on that advice. So we do have a specific tool. A lot of the exchanges, the brokerages, through their financial platforms, they are starting to develop some of their own individual brokerage-based evaluation tools as well.
Thank you very much. Mark, do you want to give us your final opinion of the meeting?
Yeah, I'll just answer that one as well from the World Federation perspective. If you go onto the World Federation of Investors website, which is wfic.org, you will find a series of videos on investing basics, which were put together by the UK organization ShareSoc, and which are free to use for anybody. But we try to identify best practice around the world and to bring that to the attention of each organization so that there is a cross-flow of ideas. I'd just like to thank attendees, panelists, sponsors.
Another question.
Oh, I'm sorry, the question.
Okay, Mark, if you don't mind, I just wanted to add topics that we have been discussing about. I believe it was not mentioned. Okay, we have case of US, and we would like to do some very, very, let's say, similar things that should be done also in Europe. But let's not forget, it's not mentioned today, that's why I decided to add this for general picture, that in US you have really completely different system of pension policy. So each and everyone have to take care on its own, more or less. And this is why the system is built, let's say, from the investment from the local society and clubs onto the state and to the federal level, so, which is great. Of course, I have admiration for it. But on the other side, I would like to say that I hope that the European pension system will not collapse. It might, of course, and we are coming closer to it. But I would, of course, hope that it will also stay, let's say, the form that we have still a social state, that we are different countries in Europe, but we are still enjoying this social state.
Very interesting. Thank you very much. Can you,
And yeah, anything else on the Europe?
Jela, do you want to add your comment?
Go ahead.
I agree with Christian, because the pension system is the key. But of course, the US is always the role model that we would like to develop. Take the positive aspects of the US.
Yeah. So again, thank you to attendees, sponsors, to our hosts, and to Paolo and the team for a fantastic conference. And thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, everybody. Now, all of you are invited to have a light lunch in the other side of the building. And we start again at 2:30 with the assembly of our association. It's only for members, of course. And of course, Jela can attend if she wants, but not a journalist, because it's a private meeting. And now please have your pasta or rice, and also what it will be ready in few minutes. And we see again 2:30 here in this room.
Thank you.